We'll begin our equation review just with identifying inverse operations. In our first example, you see a mystery number increased by 8, so decreasing, which means to take away 8 on each side, means subtraction is our first inverse. Next we have that -3 plus the x. Since they're added or subtracted together, we need to do an adding or subtracting opposite, and we would get rid of a -3 by adding 3. So adding would be our second answer. In the third one, a fraction means division, and the opposite of dividing would be to multiply. So in the third answer, multiplying would be the inverse. And in the last one, anytime a variable and constant are right next to each other, that means multiply. We'll undo that with division, and that is why that is the last inverse operation. Next, we'll move on to some basic equation solving. We'll always do the adding or subtracting inverse first, and then we'll save the multiplying or dividing inverse for last. So in that case, I got rid of the -14 by adding. That -2m will drop down to the next step, and 2 plus 14 is 16, and the -2m means multiply those, so the inverse is to divide, and we're going to divide that -2 away, so our mystery number is -8. In the next one, we do have the distributive property, so we're going to do any simplifying before we start solving. And in this case, we'll get -2/5 x. And then a negative times a positive means a negative, so we'll just write subtract. 2/5 times 25 is 10. Now we'll do that adding subtracting inverse since there's nothing else to simplify. The -10 and the +10 go away. On the left side, those two combine to give us a -10. That's equal to -2/5 x. And then if we divide each side by -2/5, it'd actually be multiplying by the reciprocal, so doing it by hand here to give you some pointers, that would leave us with -25. So since we actually did a negative divided by a negative, it's a positive, and the final answer is 25 equals our mystery number. We have distributing in the last one, so we'll do that simplifying before we start doing our inverse operations. 4 times 2 is 8. And we'll do our adding subtracting inverse first. 4 of a number equals 28. And we'll actually divide by 4, and our mystery number is 7. Just pause to erase that there. I apologize if I misspeak at all. It's my third try, and if there's an error here or there with my speaking, you're going to hear me stutter a little bit and just keep going so I don't have to record this again. We're going to do the distributive property here, which gives us 6/5 plus 2/5 x equal to 4. If you're using a calculator, you can use decimals. You'd actually have 1 2/10 and 4/10 for those. And now we're going to do our adding subtracting inverse, which is to take away 1 2/10 from each side. Add a 0 there so we know how to subtract it. And it actually is going to give us 2 8/10. And then we'll divide for our last inverse. It's pretty much just like 28 divided by 4. 4/10 goes in 7 times. We'll distribute in this next one. We're going to do any simplifying before we start doing our inverses. We can combine those. Be careful of the signs in front. It's 3x decreased by 30 is equal to 6. And now we'll do the adding subtracting inverse first. -30, +30 is gone. And 3 of a mystery number is 36. Well, the last inverse is divide, and we get the mystery number is 12. Now we have a little word problem. I'm just going to keep it simple. Fill in however you'd like. One day you went shopping. We'll say you buy 8 shirts for $5 each and 4 pairs of socks for $D each. There's the mystery number. You spend a total of $112. Find the cost of 1 pair of socks. So since it's 8 shirts for $5 a piece, that's really just multiplication, which means you spent $40 on shirts. There's no mystery number there. But we did buy 4 pairs of socks. We don't know the price. Since it's 4 pairs and it's D per pair, there's where you have the multiplication. So we'll have 4D plus $40 spent on shirts to give us our total of $112. Adding, subtracting inverse first. which gives us 4 of those pairs of socks are $72. Sounds a little expensive. Our final inverse operation is to divide, and we find that each pair of socks is $18. In our last equation, Joe is saving to buy a pair of headphones priced at $250. Pretty important. He has saved $115 and will save $15 per week. That $15 per week is important because anytime you see the per or the each, that'll usually imply multiplication in one of these. Since he's already saved up $115, we'll add it to those savings, and we want to find how long it takes him to save $250. So that finishes our equation. Adding, subtracting inverse first, which leaves us with $15 per week, would have to equal $135. And now dividing each side by 15 for our final inverse operation, we find that the number of weeks is actually equal to 9. Well, that sums up the equation review. I hope it's been helpful, and please feel free to email with any questions.